see the ice bears and glaciers. Can I come with you?
December 7th, what began as an adventure...
War is coming, child.
...will become an epic battle.
You're under our protection.
To save their world.
Just let them try to stop us.
The Golden Compass, rated PG-13, starts December 7th, only in theaters.
Like I said, it didn't really make that much money overall. And yeah, it was seen as a massive disappointment. And it was actually seen as one of the things that caused New Line Cinema to actually be shut down and absorbed into Warner Brothers. I mean, this is one of the movies that literally led them to do that. And, you know, for a studio that's gambled so much on The Lord of the Rings almost 10 years prior to have a movie like this basically be the thing that causes them to contract as a studio, that tells you something. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened there, but let's talk about the movie itself, though, because it's a film that I did see back in the day thinking that... Because I missed out on Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Narnia, and I thought, you know, all these fantasy franchises turned out to be pretty good, so maybe I'll be there for the next big franchise to come, and... like I said, needless to say, that was not the case. But in the film, you have a girl named Lyra Belacqua who joins a race of water workers and seafarers on a trip to the far north in search of children kidnapped by the Gobblers, a group supported by the world's rutlers, the Magisterium. And you got Nicole Kidman in here, Daniel Craig, Sam Elliott, Ian McKellen, Eva Green, Freddie Highmore. Everybody has these animals that they're companions with across, and they're voiced by a lot of different actors. Freddie Highmore's the one for Lyra, and I believe Kristen Scott Thomas is the one for Daniel Craig. And yeah, part of the I think you can kind of see part of the reason why this didn't work to begin with, and it's mostly because, yeah, unlike because like here's the thing: Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Narnia. They had complex stories, but they were at least simple to understand what was going on. You know, they were at least able to give you a legitimate story, building characters across these films. And yeah, they have movies where they could simplify a story while also being more complicated. So, but never to the point where you get confused right away. The Golden Compass is the complete opposite of that, because quite frankly, you really have no idea what the hell is going on here. And even if you read the books, you still would have no idea what the hell is going on in here, because so much happens in this movie. So much and it feels like New Line's copying themselves, really, because we've already had several movies that have tried to create the next big fantasy franchise and failed miserably. Of course, Fox had Aragon the year before, and just a couple months ago, they had The Secret of the Dark is Rising, which was also a massive failure. And yeah, this film definitely is up there with those movies that tried so hard to get something going, and it just failed miserably overall. And it was really being bad from the get-go, because yeah, you couldn't tell what the hell was going on in this movie. Everything was way too complicated. You didn't know who much about these characters overall. They just brought you right into the story. And it didn't work overall. And it didn't help that you had a director like Chris Weitz, who had proven time again that he could be a solid director, as he did, you know, American Pie, Down to Earth, About a Boy beforehand. But now you give him this bigger blockbuster to work with here. And needless to say, I think he was the wrong guy for this movie overall. I think you needed somebody on the levels of like a Peter Jackson or even a Guillermo del Toro to really show off what he is, you know, expand the world a little bit more. You know, get a guy that knows how to write the scripts overall that can really work in this type of a blockbuster environment here. And the end result we got here was a film that had a lot of ambition to it, but just was asking the audience way too much overall. It's kind of like the precursor to David Lynch's Dune back in the 80s, you know, or even similar to David Lynch's Dune in the 80s, I should say, not a precursor, but, you know, a movie that was ambitious for the time, but just didn't have enough there to really cement itself as a film that was going to really become the next big thing overall. And yeah, the end results speak for themselves overall. Even though the film did make its budget back eventually. It made over $370 million worldwide, and there were talks about a sequel because the film did very well overseas. But of course, when New Line Cinema basically had to be shut down and absorbed into Warner Brothers, that was kind of the nail in the coffin on that front there. But we did eventually get a TV reboot out of it with His Dark Materials, which overall was a pretty good show, and actually did show off the potential of what this story could be about. Even if you, like I said, even if you never read the books before, you could still get an understanding in that show much better than you could in a film like this. I just feel like in this film there was just way too much going on. Nobody really had a direct idea of what the intention was for this supposed to be. And it just failed miserably on so many levels. And yeah, even when I came out of the movie, I was just like, I don't even know if I like this or not. Or like, I just don't feel anything like it did when I watched Harry Potter for the first time or Lord of the Rings. I just felt like this was a film that really was trying way too hard to copy what had worked before, instead of just doing something new and exciting and different. And it backfired on New Line Cinema big time. They thought they could hit the bullseye once again. Only this time, the nightmare they thought Lord of the Rings was going to be happened with this movie. And of course, a couple months later, they would eventually have to be absorbed back into Warner Brothers. And this is where New Line Cinema is currently at right now. So anyway, that is the Golden Compass. So let's go ahead and move on to the good stuff that came out this weekend, starting with Joe Wright's follow-up to Pride and Prejudice, Keira Knightley and James McAvoy in Atonement.
Stolen moment.
Cecilia.
A terrible accusation.
I saw him with my own eyes.
How old do you have to be to know the difference between right and wrong?
Come back to me.
From the award-winning director of Pride and Prejudice,
I will return.
James McAvoy, Keira Knightley.
I love you.
Atonement.
So the story of Atonement focuses on when Brianni Tallis, played by Saoirse Ronan, a 13-year-old and aspiring writer, sees her older sister Cecilia, played by Keira Knightley, and Robbie Turner, played by James McAvoy, at the fountain in front of the family estate. She misinterprets what is happening, thus setting in motion a series of misunderstandings and a childish pique that will have lasting repercussions for all of them. Robbie is the son of a family servant toward whom the family has always been kind. They paid for his time at Cambridge, and now he goes on to plans on going on to medical school. After the fountain incident, Brianni reads a letter intended for Cecilia and concludes that Robbie is a deviant. When her cousin Lola, played by a young Juno Temple, is raped, she tells the police that it was Robbie she saw committing the deed. And it just leads into a series of unfortunate circumstances overall. Excuse me. And it just makes for a film that is very engaging overall. A film that could have easily been so boring and so pretentious and all that type of stuff. And it really does not do that. In fact, if anything, this is a movie that I think does the Me Too element here much better than a movie like, say, the movies we got when Hollywood was in this let's make movies off of the Me Too movement thing, like The Last Duel or She Said. Like, there is a little bit of that in this movie because, you see this from this girl's perspective, and she doesn't know what's going on. She just thinks what she sees, and they do a pretty good job of incorporating real life situations into this movie in general. And I think it's the talent of Joe Wright as the director of what he did with Pride and Prejudice, and not only that, the casting overall is great. Keira Knightley and James McAvoy are absolutely terrific in this. Saoirse Ronan, her first major feature film where she has a leading role in here, she's really good in the movie here. Even though she got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress, she's part of the leading cast in this movie, and she plays the part. She works it very well here. There's a lot of good emotional moments in here. There is a lot of good writing in here. The score is terrific. The visuals are absolutely beautiful to look at. Everything about the movie works really well, and it's a film that could have easily been just another bland period piece movie, but no, it takes itself seriously, and it keeps the audience invested in what's going on, and not feeling like that they're watching a pretentious film overall. You get invested in the story so quickly, and you get invested on these characters and what they're going through, and the situations that are being dealt with here, and you see the consequences of everybody's actions in the movie, and I think it works very well to a T. It really is a very underrated film that came out, and it was impressive because a lot of people thought this was a contender for a frontrunner for Best Picture at the time, and nobody really knew. Kind of like with this year's Oscar nominations, nobody really knew who had a better chance of winning. With, there was a chance that this movie was going to do it, maybe No Country for Old Men, or maybe another movie we'll get to, I think, next week, if not that, the following week. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's a really solid film that is very good, and it shows the strength of director Joe Wright as a whole. It shows the strength of these actors as a whole. It shows what you're able to do when you can tell a story like this, and it doesn't feel boring or pretentious or self-absorbed or any way, shape, or form. It works very well for what it's trying to accomplish. It's a really good film, and one I highly recommend checking out. Definitely check out Atonement. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to my favorite movie of the week, and the best movie is one of the best movies of the year per se. Jason Reitman's follow-up to Thank You for Smoking, and that is Juno.
Prognosis, fertile myrtle, minus or plus.
There it is.
little pink plus sign is so unholy.
That ain't no Etch-a-Sketch. This is one doodle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
Just tell him. I'm pregnant.
Who's the father?
It's Polly Bleecker.
Polly Bleecker? I didn't think he had it in him.
I know, right?
Did you see that coming?
Yeah, but I was hoping she was expelled or into hard drugs.
Or a DWI? Anything but this.
I could, have this baby and give it to someone that, totally needs it.
You should look in the Penny Saver. They have ads for parents.
Yeah, desperately seeking spawn. Hi, I'm Vanessa.
Hi, I'm the husband.
This, of course, is Juno.
Like the city in Alaska.
No.
You're a part-time.
I need to know that it's possible that two people can stay happy together forever.
The best thing you can do is find a person who loves you for exactly what you are.
Juno.
Speaking of movies that are able to take real-life situations and actually make something really cool and inventive with it, here's a movie that makes it funny in a very bizarre way and makes it work very well. This is a coming-of-age dramedy in which you have Ellen Page, who is now, of course, Elliot Page, but this was back when she was a woman. She stars as the title character, an independent-minded teenager confronting her unplanned pregnancy and the subsequent events that puts pressure on adult life onto her. Michael Cera plays the boy that gets her pregnant, and you have Jennifer Garner and Jason Bateman as this couple who are willing to adopt the baby whenever it gets born, and Allison Janney and J.K. Simmons play the parents of Juno. You also have Olivia Thirlby playing her best friend in the movie, and yeah, this is really a damn good film. Not only does it show what Jason Reitman is capable of doing, it's not just, nepotism. This is a guy who can make great movies on his own merits. He's not making the same type of films that his father, Ivan Reitman, did, and it's showing right in front of us. And not only that, you've got a solid cast overall that can make this story work as a whole. Ellen Page is absolutely incredible in this movie. She really is one of the strongest elements of the movie. Everybody plays their parts very well here. Nobody feels like they're playing a stock character overall. You do get invested in everybody's situation in this movie, and it does a very good job of making teen pregnancy a funny aspect too, while also being a more serious element here. And it works because of the writing of Diablo Cody, who won an Oscar for this, a well-deserved Oscar for writing the screenplay for this. And yeah, it's just an incredible, incredible film. It's a great film mostly because it's not just telling you, no, you got yourself in this situation. You're going to have this kid and you're going to parent her. Yeah, she's going to have the kid, and she even thinks about having an abortion. There's a great scene early on where she sees somebody that she knows from school who's protesting outside of the abortion center, and she's, she talks to her for a little bit, and then she walks past her, and the person that she's talking to is just babies can feel inside of you, right? They have fingernails, and Ellen Page just goes fingernails, really? Stuff like that is actually pretty funny, and I like that she doesn't go along with it, even though nobody could really blame her for doing so in that situation, honestly. And yeah, it's a really inventive and very clever film that knows, as long as you have a good script to tell and you can balance comedy and drama out, you can make serious subjects like this work as a comedy if you need to, while you can also be very serious about it as well. It's a really impressive film and a really good movie that is still very relatable to a lot of teenage girls, even to this very day. It's a film that still very much holds up over almost 20 years later, and just shows that Jason Reitman has come a long way, and he really has become one of our great directors, because he really shows that he's stepping out of the elements that his father had beforehand. He's not making those same type of movies again, even though he would make Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I think is a great film. It's still my favorite movie of 2021. Yeah, once in a while that's his only major blockbuster he's ever done. He's gone back to mostly doing independent stuff, and it has worked out very well to his favor. I mean, he just did Saturday Night this past fall, which was another great movie. Yeah, this is a really impressively made film. It's a film that still holds up very well after all these years. It's boasted by a strong performance by Ellen Page and the rest of the cast overall, and it does a great job of balancing the comedic aspects and the dramatic aspects of teenage pregnancy, and doing it in a way where it doesn't feel like you should be offended by it in any way, shape, or form. It feels realistic, it feels fresh, and it feels well put together. This is one of my favorite movies, man. This is a great film overall, a really incredible comedy. What more can I say, man? Juno is pretty amazing, and it still holds up well nearly 20 years later.
30 minutes, Colonel. Copy.
30 minutes to what?
Just sailing off the island.
Is it airborne?
anybody out there, please. Rated PG-13.
So, based off of the 1954 book by Richard Matheson, this is taking place in New York City 5 years after a deadly outbreak happens. And, of course, this was released in 2007, so that's where the 5-year difference comes into play here. And you have it was a virus that was originally designated to cure cancer, and it's wiped out most of mankind, leaving Robert Neville, played by Will Smith, as the last human in New York, other than nocturnal mutants. Neville is immune to the virus, and he works to develop a cure while defending himself against the hostile mutants. And it's the third feature film adaptation of this, based off of the story, the first two being The Last Man on Earth from 1964, and The Omega Man in 1971. And, of course, The Simpsons did this version for one of their Treehouse of Horror episodes. That was my introduction to this story, as with most people's introduction to the story, and it's a film that is still pretty damn good. It's a film that still holds up over time. It's a very engaging film. Will Smith is the main guy throughout much of the movie, and you're watching him going through all of this. Like, you know, he's having a time of his life being on his own for most of the majority of the movie with his dog friend, and yeah, it's the good life, man. Like, you being the last person on Earth, and all of a sudden you get to do whatever you want, but you're also trying to get people out there, if there's still some survivors out there, to let you know that you're there. And of course, you got to deal with all these mutants all over the place, and they do a very good job of creating an engaging adventure, an engaging thriller all across the board here, and yeah, it's not afraid to go dark at times, too. I mean, the dog gets infected by the mutants, and yeah, he's got to have a scene where he's unfortunately got to get rid of the dog, and yeah, it's about as traumatic and as sad as you can get. I'm still thinking about that, even after all these years later, man. It's a really, really rough scene to watch. I mean, if you're a dog lover, yeah, it's very, very hard to watch, but he really doesn't have a choice in this situation here, and it's just like, you know, he's trying to figure out a cure for this whole thing, and it does differentiate from the novel. It's a very different kind of film, especially with the ending in general. The ending, I will say, is a little bit anticlimactic, if you will. There's a whole thing, because in the theatrical version, the whole thing is that, you know, the Dark Seekers attack the lab, and Neville's trying to, you know, let the Dark Seeker know that, you know, he can cure him, and, he's trying to save them all, and like there's a point where he has to basically sacrifice his own life to save the two that still have the cure inside of them, and so he kills himself off, and then he goes to and then the survivors go off to the camp, and that's when they're getting handed the cure for a chance to save humanity once again. In the original version, Neville, in the alternate ending, there's a version where Neville survives it, and he survives, and he abandons the research altogether and heads along with these two that he meets, Anna and Ethan, played by Alison Braga and Charlie Talon, who they go off and finding the survivors colony, and there's this monologue at the end, just like about how you're not alone and all that, and it's a weird situation here because the first one seems a little too anticlimactic overall. But the second ending doesn't feel like it's any better either. In fact, that ending I mentioned, the alternate ending, was taken out because of the negative test screening reactions that it got. And apparently that was enough. And apparently the sequel that's coming out soon, that's where they're coming off at. That's where they're moving on from. That's the one that they're going to continue the story from, is the alternate ending, which feels really weird to do that. But I mean, it's a really tough call on which ending is better. If I had to pick one of them, I like that it is I think it's better as a standalone film in general. To continue the story in an alternate ending like this, with the alternate ending, I feel like is a little bit much overall, and it just feels like they're opening it up for an eventual sequel that nobody really knew what was going to happen, and I don't think anybody really knew it was going to be this big of a hit overall, because it was a massive hit when it came out, and they've been talking about doing a sequel for years, but apparently it's now moving closer than ever because Michael B. Jordan is currently attached to produce the film and star in it as well. And let me see if there's anything new in terms of this development here. It says that Stephen Caple Jr. is in talks to direct a sequel. Of course, he did Creed 2, and most recently he did Transformers Rise of the Beast. So it looks like they're getting closer and closer to doing the sequel. So I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see how that one turns out overall. But I don't know. The idea of following the film based off the alternate ending rather than the theatrical ending feels like it's a bit much overall. But again, we'll see what happens overall. And for the most part, the movie overall works very well. I think the theatrical version is not that great, but I do like that it's a standalone ending to the storyline here. And so, I mean, I got to give it that. But again, we'll see what they can do with another film in general. But for the most part, I thought this was pretty good. Definitely worth a watch. I Am Legend. So, let's move on to that movie I've been hyping up about. The movie that was a major influence in terms of my movie reviewing life. And you would never have thought in a million years that it would have come from a film like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
They came from nowhere to become an overnight sensation. Their music defined a generation. And then suddenly, they disappeared. But this Christmas, the legend returns.
You guys knocked it off. It's 3 in the morning. Alvin? Alvin? Alvin!
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Whoa, Theodore, did you just...
Relax, Dave. It's just a razor.
Prove it. Okay.
Dude, you owe me big time.
And that right there is the only glimmer of hope I had going into that movie back in the day, because of the fact that, you know, it's the original voice actors. It's Ross Bagdasarian Jr. and his wife Janice Carmen doing the voices of Alvin, Simon, and Theodore again. That's what I thought I was going in for, but nope. Just a few weeks before the movie came out, they said, we could have these people involved in here, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring in all these actors in here because we need the name recognition. You know, names like Justin Long and Jesse McCartney and Matthew Gray Gubler. I mean, I didn't even know who that last guy was when I saw this movie, and I found out, or at least that dude he's on Criminal Minds. That's all I knew about it, but I'll delve into that just a second here. But in the film, you have a tree farm where you have 3 musically inclined chipmunks, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. They find their tree cut down and sent to Los Angeles, and once there, they meet the frustrated songwriter David Seville, played by Jason Lee. And despite a poor house-wrecking first impression, they impress him with their singing talents. Seeing the opportunity for success, both human and chipmunks make a pact for them to sing the songs, while their ambitions prove a frustrating struggle with a difficult trio. Their dream does eventually come true, after all. However, that success presents its own trials as the unscrupulous record executive Ian Hawke, played by David Cross, plans to break up this family to exploit the boys. Can Dave and the Chipmunks discover what they really value amidst the superficial glamour around them? Are you really gonna ask that question in a movie like this? I mean, I think we all know exactly what's gonna happen here, and yeah, I know what you're thinking, and you're absolutely right. These movies are absolutely terrible. The live-action films are not good movies whatsoever. And if I'm ever going to recommend one Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, it's The Chipmunk Adventure back in the 1980s. And I want to delve more into that, but we're getting close to the time that movie gets released on time about the movie's flashback. So I'll save my full review for then, but that's the Chipmunks to me. I mean, if you grew up with the Alvin and the Chipmunks show in the 80s and 90s, even if you grew up with them when they were starting off in the 50s and 60s and 70s, I mean, that's Alvin and the Chipmunks for you. This is just, let's plaster Alvin and the Chipmunks on a lackluster project that should have been so much better than this. But here's why I give this first film at least some slack overall. First of all, the movie manages to try to follow up the original story of how the Chipmunks came into David Seville's life, and that's at least more you can say about other adaptations of TV shows. At least that's one that sticks to the story originally set up for the source material for the most part. Because, yeah, I mean, Alvin and the Chipmunks essentially came into Dave's life because they eventually found their way to his home. And the show, in the 80s show, it was him, you know, finding them outside of a cabin in the middle of a snowstorm. But here it's like they find them while they're inside their Christmas tree, and they end up inside the muffin basket he takes from the record company. And yeah, the overall story itself does manage to keep it plain and simple, and the film very much is cliched riddled in terms of how the plot goes. Yeah, it does stick to a simple storyline, though, never really progressing into any of the all-out insanity and ridiculousness that the sequels will later go on to do. The acting is a very mixed bag overall, but really the one person who's really carrying the load of the film, and most of these films in general, is David Cross as Ian Hawke. Like, this is the guy that knows, yeah, he's in a bad movie, but you know what? He's giving it 110%, and he knows that, hey, he could be the one thing in this movie that could save the film overall. And yeah, David Cross is the strongest part of all these movies. Even in a terrible film like Alvin and the Chipmunks Shipwreck, he's still the best thing about the movie because he's the only one who gets the role that he's in. Like, he's the one who's really trying here. And then let's get to the Chipmunks themselves because, yeah, as I said, the casting of the Chipmunks is incredibly pointless. I think if you would have just gone with Ross Bagdasarian Jr. and Janice Carmen to reprise the roles of the Chipmunks, that would have been perfectly fine. I mean, we heard it in the original teaser trailer. It's them reprising the roles. And, you know, Bagdasarian himself even has a cameo in the movie. I mean, he's in some of the behind this, the promotionals for this. I mean, like, you had it all set up perfectly, but Fox basically had to come in and say, we need celebrities to fill out the poster. So instead of just saving money by keeping people you had already, they went with, as I mentioned, Justin Long, Jesse McCartney, who were the two biggest stars of them, and Matthew Gray Gubler. And even the biggest star of Justin Long. Like, he's not even that popular enough a leading drawback than to begin with overall. I mean, he's a great comedic actor, but he was never seen as a big box office draw. And really, not to mention, none of the marketing makes any sense because the three they hired are nowhere they're not going to sell this movie in general, and their roles are pretty much completely pointless. I mean, just take a look at this scene in general and tell me, is there really a purpose to having these actors playing these roles that could have easily been played by the original voice actors, honestly?
What's this about?
Obviously, Theodore's butt. We told you we colored.
On my presentation boards, you got me fired.
Oh. We didn't know.
Oh my God, Theodore, did you just...
It's a raisin, Dave.
Prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got me. Look, I want to talk to all you guys. Where's Alvin?
Yeah.
Alvin?
You owe me big time.
Alvin?
Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? Don't you wish your girlfriend was a freak like me? There's this new thing. It's called knocking.
Get out.
I'm waiting for the ring cycle.
Yeah. Was there even a point to doing that? No, but you know what Fox said? We're going to double it down for the sequel. We're going to get a ton of names that you are familiar with. Anna Faris, Christina Applegate, Amy Poehler for the Chipettes in the next film. Like, why? Like, why are you even bothering speeding those voices up when you could have easily paid Bagdasarian Jr. and Carmen to do the same voices all over again? Honestly. And at least I'll give them credit as far as the music goes. They do at least keep Bagdasarian and Carmen to do the songs in general, and they still do work well enough to appreciate the soundtrack more if you're a fan of the Chipmunks music, which makes the casting of Long and, McCartney even more useless, especially since Jesse McCartney is a singer himself. And I did like that during the end credits they do show off the Chipmunks record covers to show off the history of the trio since their 1958 inception overall. But with that said, the rest of the casting is pretty mediocre. Jason Lee is kind of a bore. It's hard not to watch Lee in this and not think to himself as Earl from My Name is Earl. And he really looks like he does not want to be in these movies, but he keeps going in there because they keep giving him a big-ass paycheck to work off here. And every continuing film he's in, it looks like he's not trying anymore. He's not working at all. He's not Dave Seville. Like, it was when he screams Alvin, like, you heard it in the teaser trailer. That's the most that comes close to him sounding like Dave Seville. And don't even get me started on his love interest in the movie. You know that chick from Supercross, that movie you never remembered until I mentioned again? Yeah, Cameron Richardson's the love interest in this movie. She's 100% pointless. She has no character development at all. And we're supposed to feel for her because she's the plain love interest and that's it? Like, this is one of the worst love interests I've ever seen in a movie because you cannot buy her chemistry with Jason Lee at all. Like, it's amazing how there is zero chemistry between these two whatsoever, and they just threw her in there because, we need to have a love interest in here. Yeah, there's a couple of jokes, there's a lot of jokes in here that are pretty lame. Sometimes you get a good, fun moment here and there. Like, I do like the one gross-out humor joke, the raisin joke. Is actually kind of funny overall, especially for Dave's reaction. I mean, usually I don't like gross-out humor jokes, but that one actually kind of worked. And again, when David Cross is on screen, you get the best laughs of the entire film. But yeah, overall, I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. Yeah, it's not a good movie, and I would definitely recommend The Chipmunk Adventure first before I would say watch these movies any day of the week. But I mean, it's not that bad, but there's nothing about it that stands out well about it at all. I guess I could honestly say that it's just a passable film. I think kids will like it. I think there's some stuff that the adults can get enjoyment out of, but other than that, though, there's really nothing else about the film that makes it worth it in the end. So, why exactly does this movie hold a special place in my heart whenever it comes to my film review career? Well, let's just say this. This is around 2007, and, I was just coming out of high school the previous summer, and, I was going to community college, and, it was a very rough time for me at community college, because I thought I was getting more out of the community college, journey than I ended up getting. I was there for 3 years, and I took these classes. I thought I was going to continue doing movie reviews like I did in high school, but nothing ever opened up, and there were no classes where I could take that I could easily make that work. And yeah, it was a very stressful time overall, and it didn't help that the teachers there, some of the classes that I took during that time, just really, they were more egregious and more impatient than they were more, for lack of a better word, they were more assholes when they needed to be, because, yeah, there were definitely times when I was taking these classes, and I was doing the best I can, and it still wasn't enough. I'll never forget the one year I had a math class where I had a teacher that always told me to show my work all the time, and even when I showed my work, and even put it on the computer or the paper to show that I'd shown my work, it still wasn't enough, even if it was the correct answer. Like, they wanted me to tell me to ask me how did I get the answer all the time. But it's like, it doesn't matter. I showed my work. I showed you how I did it. And it's just like, no, show me how you did it right in front of me. It's just like, what do you want me to do? Like, it was, bottom line, it was a very stressful time for me, those 3 years. And 2008 was the worst of the worst. That 2008, mostly the fall of 2008, that was the roughest time ever. And I bring all of this up because this actually ties back into Alvin and the Chipmunks. And it does this because when I was looking for some reviews online on YouTube for this, I came across a little group from Austin, Texas that was doing movie reviews on there. And I knew nothing about them. But then I stumbled across their Alvin and the Chipmunks review. And I think you can get a good idea, if you've been following my videos here, about one of my biggest influences. I think you know who exactly I'm talking about.
Got $7.50 to pay. Everybody now.
I can't tell you how many years I have waited for a live-action Alvin and the Chipmunks movie.
Yeah, right.
Zero. There's really no reason to make this movie other than the fact that they're running out of licensed properties to make movies of. And, Jason Lee is Dave Seville, failed songwriter, who discovers talking chipmunks at his front door.
Okay, let me just ask you, what powers do they possess that make them talk?
Yeah, I mean, is it a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type of effect?
Yeah, the chemicals fall on them? Do we ever, find out that Dave is high on some shit and this ain't really happening? He finds, 3 dead rats that he just imagines them like they're just talking chipmunks?
That's right, Alvin and the Chipmunks was the first Spill.com review I ever saw, and that's the one that got me to go to their website. And honestly, the rest of my life was eventually changed. Was eventually changed from that point forward, because that's because of Spill.com and because of what Corey Coleman, Cyrus, Leon, and Carlisle, or as now we all know him, Chris Cox, Martin Thomas, C. Robert Cargill, of course, the co-host 3000. Because of those guys, they were eventually part of the big reason why I eventually went back to film reviewing, because I joined their website after that. I was one of the members of that website, and I found a place where I could continue putting movie reviews out there. And not only that, they really got me through a very tough time in my life, going through those 3 years in community college. And eventually it led to the creation of the site within a site that became the Reviewing Network. And then when the Spill website unfortunately shut down at the end of 2013, the plan to go to a full website within a year had to be cut down to 6 months. And that's when I spent most of my time in December, after the site had gone down, saving as much as I could. And eventually it led to the site that I have now officially call home here. And of course that eventually led to the YouTube channel that you're watching right now. So if Alvin and the Chipmunks did not exist, I probably would not be sitting here right now doing movie reviews. I mean, I'd probably be finding a way to do it in some way, shape, or form, but if it had not been for this movie, and had not been me looking for that review, one of those reviews back then, I would have never found Spill.com, nor would I have eventually found a way to bring the Reviewing Network to life. And here we are. I mean, I owe a lot to what those guys did when I found that review. I mean, they were the reason why They were the reason why the site is now what it is, and they were the reason why I got back to film reviewing, and they were the guys that, kept me in check and gave me some hope going forward. I mean, during that tough time I was in, I owe a lot to what Corey and those guys did for me. And when the site went down, I told them the same thing when the site went down. And, I got a nice message from Corey that I still hold to this very day. I mean, it's really, they really saved my butt big time, because I would not be standing here right now if it wasn't for them. And yeah, it was a very tough time in my life, but they got me through it, and the rest is history, and here we are. So I owe a lot to them for what those guys did. And it all started with me finding that review for Alvin and the Chipmunks, and eventually finding how funny these guys can really be. A lot of them are now on other websites, Double Toasted, One of Us. Surely there's some other ones I completely forgot about. Rage Select, at least I know some of them go on there, but find these guys' stuff here. You can find them all over the place. I'll even leave links down below if I need to, but definitely seek these guys out, and definitely look for the old spill reviews online, because they are definitely out there. But, yeah, I owe a lot to these guys, and it was because of their review of this movie that this whole thing is now where it is right now. So I owe those guys a lot for getting me through a tough time, and I thank those guys every day for the rest of my life for that, because like I said, if this movie had not come out and I had not found that review, we would not be sitting here right now on this channel. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful for that, and that's why this movie does hold a very special place in my heart, because yeah, it got me through it. Is because without that review, I don't know where I really would be right now if I didn't have this website and all that. But yeah, I feel very, very grateful because of this review that I found for this movie through Spill.com. And yeah, I'm getting a little emotional because yeah, it still holds up for me after all these years, nearly 20 years later. I never will forget the day I found that, and it changed my life forever. So yeah, that's why this movie holds a special place in my heart. As bad as it is, it's not even that bad. It's just not as good as something like The Chipmunk Adventure. It's a movie that I'll always remember because it was the one that welcomed me into the world of Spill.com and found the reviews and turned my life around completely. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yeah, not a good movie overall, but it's a very important movie in my life overall. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is The Perfect Holiday.
I'm not cleaning that up.
This holiday season.
Kids are at Robin's.
Oh, Gabrielle Union.
When exactly did my kids become the Jackson 5?
I ain't being Michael.
Morris Chestnut.
Hey, Jizzy, is Nancy's ex-husband?
Yeah, I knew that.
Man, how come you didn't tell me?
Charlie Murphy.
What about your Christmas album?
Look, we're gonna use the song right there.
I saw Mommy, Captain Santa Claus.
Cat Williams.
One Christmas in the air, brotherly love, the jingle ding-ding.
Faison Love.
I done told Brenda so many lies, I'm starting to believe them.
About you?
You're an elf.
Terrence Howard and Queen Latifah.
Better watch out. Santa's coming to town.
On Wednesday, December 12th.
Listen, hey, I can't make it, okay? You're gonna have to fill in.
Get ready for The Perfect Holiday.
Yeah, it's not a very good sign if you're releasing a Christmas movie less than 2 weeks before Christmas. I mean, once in a while you get that movie that actually does work, like The Family Stone or The Muppet Christmas Carol. But 9 times out of 10, if you're releasing a movie a few weeks before Christmas that's not one that's being seen on television, chances are that it's not going to be a good movie. And sure enough, here's one where we have that type of a film where you have a movie that's a comedy starring Morris Chestnut, Gabrielle Union, Charlie Murphy, Cat Williams, Faison Love, Terrence Howard, and Queen Latifah. And Gabrielle Union plays a woman who wants for Christmas to meet a nice man. So when her little girl shares her smitten wish with a mouse Santa, played by Morris Chestnut, he does his best to make her dreams come true in this delightful treat for the whole family to enjoy. I'm reading this off of IMDb, and this isn't me saying this and all, but I did want to say something about Faison Love. It's just like, you're already fat, dude. You don't need the fucking Santa suit on. But like, hey, it's their idea of comedy, and yeah, comedy is in quotation marks comedy, because this ain't that much of a comedy, and not even that good of a movie in general. It's a bland movie. Like, it's a movie that I feel like is one of those movies that, it has the PG rating overall, but they're clearly not watching this movie at the MPAA, because there's nothing about this movie that's PG. It puts it in the same category as something like, My Little Pony the movie or Inside Out 2. Just one of the many problems with the MPAA in general. But On top of that, the movie itself just isn't all that good. It's a pretty bland movie that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. It really has no idea what type of a film it wants to be, or what kind of a Christmas movie it wants to be overall. And it doesn't help that these people can usually turn in a very good performance overall, but even a movie like this, it's not enough to save the film, because I don't even think the movie really knows what its main story should be in general. It just feels so cluttered. There's nothing about it that's hilarious. I mean, the names in this movie are so bland and forgettable. Like, you have a P. Diddy knockoff, but guess what his name is? Jay Jizzy. Like, that's the level of intelligence that this movie has. This is a film that should have been seen on Lifetime or BET. It should not have been blown up on the big screen like this. And yeah, it's a film that came and went. It was largely forgotten. And unlike those movies that opened up after Christmas that I mentioned, Muppet Christmas Carol and The Family Stone, which are good movies, this thing came and went, and it shows nothing of value whatsoever. And yeah, for some reason, it still shows up on the 25 Days of Christmas on Freeform every year, which I don't know why. Like, that time slot could be saved for much better movies and specials than this pile of garbage here. Yeah, this is a direct-to-video movie blown up for the big screen, or something that should have been just shown on Lifetime or BET, but no, they put it on the big screen because this young company, Yari Film Group, thought they were going to have their next big Christmas classic that's going to be shown every year and make a lot of money, and no, didn't do any of that whatsoever. So avoid the perfect holiday it's like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to some indie movies here. Let's start with the first one we have here, and that is The Kite Runner.
20 years ago, one moment tore them apart. Now, what happened to my nephew? They took him. He will risk everything to make things right. This holiday season, from the extraordinary bestseller, Nothing is a way to be good again. The Kite Runner, rated PG-13, in select theaters December 14th.
This is, of course, based off the 2003 book of the same name, and it follows the story of Amir, a well-to-do boy from the Wazir Abakan district of Kabul, who is tormented by the guilt of abandoning his friend Hassan. The story is set in the backdrop of tumultuous events following the fall of the monarchy in Afghanistan through the Soviet military intervention, the mass exodus of Afghans returning to Pakistan and the United States, and the Taliban regime. And yeah, this is a film that was very timely back then too, because we were still in the Gulf, the war with Afghanistan, and it's a movie where a lot of things happened in this film. Like, there was a lot of things going on in this particular movie, some that were actually kind of seen as controversial at the time. The biggest one being the child actors who were involved in all these situations that they were dealing with when they were making the movie, and it actually forced the studio to force the movie back until this weekend. And the controversy itself actually led to the film being banned from cinemas and distribution in Afghanistan altogether. So yeah, this is a very controversial film, but the film itself is just okay. Honestly, it's a movie that I look at and I'm looking at it just like, there's nothing really wrong about it per se. Everybody's doing the best they can here, but it just feels like they're trying a little too hard to create the next big epic film. Like, they're trying to create something on the level of something like, Gandhi or The Last Emperor, which are much better movies in general, obviously. But it's a film I feel like they're trying to go so hard for an Oscar. I think the pieces are definitely there. This is directed by Mark Forster, who did Stranger Than Fiction. He also did Stay. He also did Finding Neverland. This is written by David Benioff, who, of course, will later go on to create Game of Thrones, and features a pretty good cast overall, and a very engaging storyline overall. But, I think the book was done a whole lot better. I remember having to read the book for one of the classes I took in community college, and yeah, it was an engaging read overall, and I think this film had a lot of tough tasks to try to capture that magic from the book in general and bring it to the big screen. And God bless them, the actors are trying overall to make it work, and the director's doing everything he can, but it just feels like they're trying way too hard to go for that Oscar overall. It doesn't feel like they're really going in and trying to make a really good a masterpiece of a film overall. They're just trying to make a movie based off a very popular book. And again, it's not a bad movie per se, but it's just not enough to say that, yes, this should have been one of the award contenders. But no, it's a film that's just, it's okay. It's a good movie. I'd say if you want to see some of Mark Forster's work, it's definitely a film you should check out. I think it definitely is good for a one-time watch. But other than that, though, there's really no real reason to watch this movie in general, except for the first time you see it. It's a very tough film to get through at times, but I mean, it's fine for what it is. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but feels like it could have been so much more. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that's Francis Ford Coppola's latest film, Youth Without Youth.
We are running out of time.
It's funny, I think that's what they were telling Francis Ford Coppola when he was making his later movies. You're running out of time. And I feel like it started with this movie here, because this is the first film Coppola has directed in 10 years since The Rainmaker, which is a really good movie and a nice reprieve after something like Jack in 1996, which nearly killed his career overall. But in this movie, this takes place and starts in 1938 with an elderly Romanian professor contemplating suicide. He's struck by lightning and consequently finds himself rejuvenated, and he subsequently develops psychic powers, which attracts the attention of Nazi agents. He flees to Switzerland, where he meets a reincarnation of his past lover, and he discovers information both about her various past incarnations and about the evolutionary potential of humanity. So yeah, you can see this is where Francis Ford Coppola is starting to get very pretentious with his works overall. And yeah, the film itself, unfortunately, is a very pretentious and very long movie that doesn't really amount to anything overall. And it really is not that good overall. It's a film that definitely shows that the magic with Francis Ford Coppola, sadly, is starting to go away. And yeah, for your first movie in 10 years, you better deliver something much better than a movie like this that feels very bland, feels very pretentious, feels very boring. I mean, this is a long movie. Granted, it's 2 hours. It's only a little over 2 hours long, but it feels like it's much more than that. It's a very bland, boring movie that has nothing of value whatsoever and feels like it's completely devoid of what makes Francis Ford Coppola the great director that he was back in the day. And yeah, like I said, this is the first film that really began the eventual downfall of him as a director, because after this he did Tetra, which was not a good movie, Twix, which wasn't very good, and then just recently we had Megalopolis, which was up there with my second worst movie of last year. And it just goes to show that the dude is clearly losing a lot of clearly losing a lot of his muster overall, and this was the first real sign that, yeah, this guy's career is going off on the deep end and not in a good way, and it definitely shows on here. It's a very pretentious movie, a very boring movie, a very bland film overall. Just nothing of value about it whatsoever. It's a film I would say definitely skip it, because it's definitely not worth it in the end. So yeah, a hard skip on Youth Without Youth.
What is it about treasures that makes history so fascinating?
Benjamin Gates has spent a lifetime hunting treasures that have been lost to history.
Take a look at this.
But when a secret from the past is uncovered...
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of the missing pages from the diary of John Wilkes Booth.
History will be rewritten.
It's the names of the Lincoln conspirators. Thomas Gates.
Your great-great-granddaddy planned the assassination.
It can't be. We cannot have him remembered as a conspirator in the assassination of the man who brought this nation together.
Now,
I need to see the page. You have 30 seconds to disable the alarm. Go.
You did that in 15 seconds.
That's why I tell people to get a dog.
his search to clear his family's name.
Take a look at this.
It's a cipher.
Clever. Has uncovered a secret he never expected to find.
There is a book, and it has the information you need. The President's Book of Secrets. A collection of documents for President's eyes only. The truth behind the JFK conspiracy. The missing minutes from the Watergate tapes. And of course, Area 51.
It contains all of our nation's secrets. I need to see the President's book.
The only way you'll ever see that book is if you get elected president.
I'm going to kidnap him. I'm going to kidnap the President of the United States.
Wouldn't it have just been easier for us to make an appointment?
Code one! Code one! Gates. Don't kid yourself what we're capable of.
Every clue leads one step closer.
The letter sent by the Queen. You're in danger. You've got to find wherever that leads before they do.
To unlocking the mystery. The world isn't ready to believe.
Ben, wait. That could be a horrible trap.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
National Treasure, Book of Secrets.
Oh, look, my tax dollars at work coming to arrest me.
So National Treasure Book of Secrets follows the gang several years after the last time they found the Knights Templar and became rich and famous, and now they basically have all become broke. And now another treasure hunter, played by Ed Harris, has found what is the missing piece of the Diary of John Wilkes Booth, which contains clues to the location of a lost city of gold. Ben must compete against Mitch to find the lost city. He goes to France and Great Britain to find other clues, and even peek inside the president's secret book to put the pieces of the puzzle together. His parents and his friends also help Ben find the lost city to stay one step ahead of Mitch. You know, for a movie series that thinks it's smarter than Indiana Jones is looking much smarter than these fucking movies are, because, good lord, the first movie was bad enough on its own, and so now we have a sequel here, and someone said, let's take the absurdity levels of the first film, and let's really just throw them out the door for this movie, because, good lord, this one is a bunch of baloney and garbage that they're making you sit through. I mean, good lord, this film is absolutely abysmal. This is a film that makes the first one look like a masterpiece by comparison. I mean, it's literally the same film as the last movie. It's the typical let's do it again sequel where everybody has regressed from where they were before at the end of the last film, and they have to add another stupid storyline here to make a sequel worth it. And yeah, it makes for a film that is not really that inventive or fun whatsoever. There's not a lot of good action in the movie. The acting is pretty bland overall. The idea of the president having this secret book where he has all this information about all the events that we're not ready for, it's just like in a much better movie this would probably work better, but no, not in a film like this where all the cool stuff doesn't happen on screen. It's happening when these people are reading a book. I mean, most of these people in this movie would rather read a book, look online, instead of actually doing the stuff that Indiana Jones would do, like, punching Nazis, going and looking for gold and all that. Not in this movie. No. We have to do this in the most stupidest way that makes us think that we're smart enough to do it, but it makes for a snooze fest of a movie, because I'm sorry, reading a book and looking through all these different things to try to find this stuff is nowhere near as fun as just watching Indiana Jones do it with a whip and his abilities that he's able to do over the years. And yeah, this is a film that just doesn't work at all. It's a boring film. It's a film that has nothing to matter whatsoever. It's a lazy film. I can't believe this was a big hit. This was a film it made more money than the first film did. Like, what do people see in these National Treasure movies that I'm not seeing at all here? And it's just like, it's not worth it. There's nothing in this film that makes it worth it whatsoever. I mean, it's a boring movie. Nothing is going on. The story is not that interesting. The characters are not that interesting. It's a lazy sequel to a franchise that, quite honestly, should not even be a franchise. Like, I still can't believe this first film beat out the SpongeBob movie, which was the far superior movie. This is just absolute garbage. This is a terrible movie, man. And I might be the one person on this planet that says that, but I'm sorry. I find nothing of value in this movie whatsoever. So yeah, that's my thoughts on National Treasure, the Book of Secrets. How about we get to some good movies finally? Let's start with the second film we have here today, and that is Charlie Wilson's War.
Wilson's War has been nominated for 5 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Picture.
Without Charlie, history would be sadly different.
Sometimes you have to be unconventional to accomplish the unbelievable. Charlie Wilson's War, rated R.
What a great movie, man. This is one of my favorite films of all time. I mean, this is a film that's, for a director like Mike Nichols, this is the last film he directed, and what a way to go out as a director, man. In the film, it's based off the story of U.S. Congressman Charlie Wilson, played by Tom Hanks, and a CIA operative, Gust Avrakotos, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but he's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, whose efforts lead to Operation Cyclone, a program to organize and support the Afghan Mujahideen during the Soviet-Afghan War. And not only that, you have a script written by Aaron Sorkin and a cast which features a ton of notable names in this film. I mean, Julia Roberts, Amy Adams, Ned Beatty, John Slattery, Rachel Nichols. I mean, there's a lot of notable names in this movie. Emily Blunt is in the film as well. Shiri Appleby. I mean, there's a lot of good people in the film, and the film is just so damn good. I mean, this is one of those movies that came out of nowhere to become this really fantastic film that it is. I mean, Tom Hanks, you're always going to get a good performance out of him no matter what. Julia Roberts does a fantastic job, as does Philip Seymour Hoffman. The supporting cast in here is a ton of fun to watch. Amy Adams is really good here. Emily Blunt, really good in the movie. Not only his performance, but like she makes it fully aware that her presence is there right from the get-go in her scene with Tom Hanks. I mean, I think you know which scene I'm talking about. But not only that, it's then followed by the introduction of Philip Seymour Hoffman's character with John Slattery from Mad Men, and that scene is just pure perfection. That is the best scene in the entire movie. And I really do believe that's the scene that won Philip Seymour Hoffman the nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards. Of course, he didn't win it, but that he got a nomination for that. And if you watch that movie in particular, I mean, that scene in particular, that's the reason why I think he got that nomination, because he definitely deserves it for that. That's one of the great character interests I've ever seen in the movie. This film is just great. Charlie Wilson's War is just a great movie. Every adult can enjoy it, especially men, considering that the film literally opens up with Tom Hanks sitting in a hot tub with 3 naked women. I mean, this is a winner all across the board. It's a smart film. It's a very funny film. It's a very dramatic film. It's all the pieces coming together, making for a great, great film. I mean, this is a great study of showing how we've gotten to this point in our history, and it is really an enjoyable movie. From the script by Aaron Sorkin, from the direction by Mike Nichols, from the cast, everything about this movie works. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't recommend it enough. Charlie Wilson's War. Definitely check it out. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Tim Burton reuniting with Johnny Depp once again, this time for Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Desperate measures are called for.
All right. You, sir?
No one's in the chair. Come on, come on. Sweeney's waiting. I want you bleeders.
You, sir? You, sir? Welcome to the grave. I will have vengeance. I will have salvation.
I honestly don't need to say much more about that. That scene is pretty amazing. I mean, this movie is a masterpiece, man. This is a film that is based off, of course, of the Broadway musical by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler, which was turned into a 1970 play by Christopher Bond, and it retells the melodramatic Victorian tale of Sweeney Todd, played by Depp, who's an English barber and serial killer who, after arriving in London, he begins to seek revenge on Judge Turpin, played by Alan Rickman, who wrongfully convicted and exiled him in order to steal his wife. Sweeney Todd commits several murders on his customers, and with the help of an accomplice, played by Helena Bonham Carter, processes their corpses into meat pies. If that is not enough for me to say, hell yes, I love this movie, then quite frankly, I don't know what's going to convince you. Because, yeah, this definitely is one of Tim Burton's greatest underrated masterpieces of a movie. This is such a great film. It plays to all the strengths of what Tim Burton is capable of giving you. I mean, the direction is absolutely fantastic. The set design's amazing. The musical numbers are great. There's a number of great musical numbers all throughout the course of the film. The cast overall is great. This is a perfect role for Johnny Depp. He sells this so completely, and it does not feel like he's playing an over-the-top character just for the sake of playing an over-the-top character. He is so committed to this, and he plays it so well. And I love his connections with Helena Bonham Carter in this movie, and the way he gets revenge on Alan Rickman in this movie through a musical number nonetheless. It's a masterpiece of a film. It's a great movie. It's a film that's not afraid to go dark when it needs to. It's a really damn good film. What more can I say, man? I don't have much more to say about this one, man. This is one of the best musicals of the 21st century, if not the best one. I'd have to think about that, though, because we've had some pretty good musicals as of late. But yeah, this is definitely up there with some of the best musicals of all time. Sweeney Todd and the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Definitely check it out. I highly recommend it. So, we said a couple good movies there. Now let's get back to some crap. Here's Hilary Swank starring with Gerard Butler in P.S. I Love You.
I'm not going anywhere. Holly thought her life was over, but on December 21st, her friends will show her how to pursue new interests.
Oh, you've got a fish! Turn the knob!
How to meet guys.
Are you single?
Yes.
Are you gay?
Yes. And how to live it up. Hilary Swank, Jared Butler.
Are you gay?
No.
Are you working?
No. P.S. I Love You. Rated PG-13. Starts December 21st.
Evidently, no one told Lisa Kudrow that Friends was canceled 3 years ago, so she could stop pretending that she's acting in a sitcom. I mean, what was even the crux of that joke? I mean, are you single? No. Are you gay? No. And then later on, and then before that, it was, are you single? Yes. Are you gay? Yes. Like, okay, what's the punchline here? I don't know, and I don't think the people who made this movie knows. But Hilary Swank plays a young widow who discovers that her late husband has left her 10 messages intended to help ease her pain and start a new life. Like I said before, imagine a watered-down version of Ghost, where instead of having this side plot where, these people are trying to kill Patrick Swayze's girlfriend, and he has to basically get Whoopi Goldberg's help to save the day in the long run. And of course, you have the demons in that movie. Yeah. Imagine this, that's this movie, except all the cool stuff that was in Ghost is taken out of there. And what you get here is a film that is right at home on ABC's lineup, sandwiched between Grey's Anatomy and Brothers and Sisters. I mean, that's how lazy this movie is. This is a poorly put together film. And this is directed by Richard LaGravenese, who worked with Hilary Swank earlier in the year on another bad movie, Freedom Riders. And, nothing about this movie works at all. The chemistry doesn't work at all. Hilary Swank has proven that she can star in good movies overall, but man, she picked some real bad movies around this time. And 2007 was very much a bad year for her in terms of the film she chose. I mean, this, Freedom Riders, The Invasion, I mean, just one bad film after another, man. Gerard Butler to capitalize on this after 300, not a good move at all. And there's nothing about the film that works at all. Everything about this movie is schlocky, it's bland. You could tell that this is a film that's clearly written not for the intentions of entertaining a full audience. This is a film that you take your gal pals to. We talk about this so many times on other occasions. 80 for Brady is a perfect example of it. You call your gal pals up on a Friday or Saturday night and say, hey, let's go to the movies, dress up, we're going to drink Chardonnay and talk about our lives on while we're trying to watch the movie. While we pretend we watch the movie, and then when our husbands ask us how was the movie when we came home, we all say together, "Wait, I saw a movie tonight." That's the type of movie that this film is. It is such a clustered mess of a film, and it takes an idea that has worked so well in the past in much better movies like Ghost, and just makes it more pathetic and lazy and devoid of anything that makes it worth it in the long run. This is a terrible film. Avoid this one like the plague. So we had a bad romantic comedy. Let's get to a good comedy. Let's talk about one of the most underrated comedies of the 2000s. And that is, of course, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story.
Help people with my music.
Like your family?
No. The guy who brought you Talladega Nights, Knocked Up, and Superbad. Invite you to meet Dewey Cox. Walk hard. It's the devil's music! This holiday season, there's a rift between the Beatles. I've got a song about an octopus. I like the little one. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. Rated R.
I think their first mistake was releasing this on Christmas weekend. It's an R-rated comedy. Yeah, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to squeeze this in with, like, when some of the other big musical biopics they're satirizing came out. Ray, Walk the Line, those type of films. And I get the idea, but yeah, you usually do not open R-rated comedies like this on Christmas weekend. You don't usually open R-rated mainstream films like this on Christmas weekend unless you're an Oscar contender. Because just like with this movie, it didn't do very well. It bombed pretty hard at the box office, but it was a hit with critics, and it did eventually go on to have a cult following, which I could say thank God for that, man, because this film definitely deserves every bit of it. As I said before, this is a parody of the musical biopic genre, where Walk Hard is the story of a fictional early rock and roll star named Dewey Cox, played by John C. Reilly, and it references mostly Ray and Walk the Line, but it also references the careers of Ray Charles and Johnny Cash, along with a lot of other musical talents: Roy Orbison, Glenn Campbell, Bob Dylan, Jerry Lee Lewis, John Lennon, James Brown, Neil Diamond, Hank Williams, Brian Wilson. There's fictional versions of everybody from the Beatles to the Big Bopper to Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley played by Jack White, and the Beatles played by some regulars of the Judd Apatow crew: Jack Black, Jason Schwartzman, Paul Rudd. You have people playing themselves in this movie. Eddie Vedder, Joe, Ghostface Killer, a lot of parodies and celebrity cameos all across the film. And it's a great film, man. It's a film that was not the big, like I said, it wasn't the biggest hit of the Judd Apatow streak that he had going as a producer and as a director as well, because, excuse me, of course, this was around the time when he was making all these movies and they were becoming big hits overall. And yeah, this one is the least popular of the ones, unfortunately. That was not the big hit at the box office, but it worked because it works. It works. If this had been released on another weekend besides Christmas, I think this film would have been the big blockbuster hit that something like Talladega Nights and Superbad were. But this movie really is one of the best films Apatow has produced. John C. Reilly is at his comedic and musical best, and I mean musical best, because the songs in this movie are so damn good. They are so catchy and so memorable. The last song of the movie, where it's culminating everything that was going on in Dewey Cox's life, is a pitch-perfect way for this film to end. It's a song that once in a while I'll pop it on, because it's just one of those songs that I have to listen to it every once in a while. It's that good of a song. And you know, like with a movie like Fanboys, which came out, which was supposed to be released around this time, but came out a few years later, it offers a lot of great cameos, great comedy, pretty fun acting all across the board, a lot of really good music. It's just a masterpiece of a comedy. It's a fun parody. It's a well-made film. It shows what John C. Reilly can do as the star of the film. I think this was another one of those movies where Will Ferrell was supposed to be the star of it, but like with Hot Rod, he just wasn't right for the role, and they thought that he couldn't sing in this movie, which, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it worked out in favor for John C. Reilly, because it did show that, hey, he's not just a good dramatic actor, he could be a very funny comedic actor, and this definitely shows what he's capable of in a leading comedic role. And this is just not much more I can say about this movie, man, except definitely check this one out. If you love the 40-Year-Old Virgin, Talladega Nights, Knocked Up, Superbad, you gotta see this movie, because it's more than worth it. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, definitely check it out. It's probably my favorite film of the entire weekend, outside of Charlie Wilson's War. But that's Walk Hard. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, and that's Jessica Simpson starring in Blonde Ambition.
To be a big deal
This is my first time in New York City.
in the Big Apple, keep your head up.
Cute helmet. Is Barbie wanted back?
And to think most guys would have held me up by now.
Land a job.
How about a position at Connolly and Connolly? What do you think? I think not.
Change your look.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, they say that this isn't a remake of Working Girl, but come on, it's freaking Working Girl, except Working Girl was a much better movie. It had better actors, it had a better story overall. This is just Jessica Simpson trying to save whatever was left of her leading film career. And like I said before, she decided to go and remake some of the most notable female-centered comedies of the 80s, because she did this, and then she did the other one, the Private Benjamin remake, which was, I believe, it was something called Valentine, Blonde and Dangerous, I think it was. Let me see. Yeah, Private Valentine, Blonde and Dangerous. But we'll get to that a little in 2008. But Jessica Simpson stars as a small-town girl who moves to New York City and rises up into a career as a businesswoman. And, you know, we have a cast also includes Luke Wilson, Rachel Lee Cook, Penelope Ann Miller, Andy Dick, Larry Miller, Willie Nelson, and directed by Scott Marshall, who did a pretty good movie that came out the year before, Keeping Up with the Steins. And I honestly thought he was going to be like his dad and turn into the next great comedic director. And sadly, that was not the case, as he's gone on to direct mostly just bland, forgettable, you know, movies that eventually go straight to DVD, and he has not really done much since then. And it's a shame, because I thought there was some potential there, but nope, just relegated to whatever crap Jessica Simpson thinks is entertainment. And yeah, this is definitely if P.S. I Love You is a watered-down version of Ghost, this is definitely a watered-down version of Working Girl. I mean, this is a film that is not made to be on that same level of Working Girl, where you actually have a very convincing storyline, good characters, a good developing drama going on here with a nice mix of comedy, and just top talent all across the board here. This is a film that is clearly meant for a direct-to-video release, and that's exactly what it was. Although somebody at the studio decided, we're going to put this on the big screen. Surely we'll find somebody to see it. And, I mean, it made $1.6 million, but it was seen as a box office disappointment. But, yeah, the film is not that great overall. It's a pretty bland film. It features a lot of stuff you've seen done on much better movies, and there's just nothing about this film that's different compared to a film like A Working Girl, or even a 9 to 5, if you will. But, yeah, the film is not that great overall. It's a pretty forgettable film, and like I said, it's one of the last few small glimmers of whatever life is left of Jessica Simpson's film career, because after this and Private Valentine, that was pretty much over and done with, and she just went back straight to music. At least I think she did, because I don't remember anything else that she was in after 2008. But who knows? I might be proven wrong on that. But anyway, that's Blonde Ambition. Just watch Working Girl. It's a much better movie than this garbage is.
Nobody's home. Who's outside the window?
I just had a bad nightmare.
What the hell was that? Get out! Get out! Oh my God, get out of the water!
See? No monster.
What's the Army's evacuation plan?
There's an airlift in 30 minutes.
The Colonel's lying. The Army thinks about containment first. If I'm right,
we're all dead.
Yeah. I think you can pretty much see from this trailer everything that's wrong with this movie. First of all, why the hell are you releasing this on Christmas Day? Like, really? What do you think people are going to see on Christmas Day? Why do you think people are going to go see this on Christmas Day when they have a wide assortment of other movies that they can go and see? And not just family films. You know, there's bigger blockbusters that people can go and see and be more entertained by than anything in this piece of shit. No, really, this is a piece of shit movie. This thing makes the original Alien vs. Predator look like the original Alien and Predator films by comparison. It's that bad of a movie. Set immediately after the events of the previous film, the film begins with a Predator ship crashing into a forest outside of Gunnison, Colorado, where an Alien-Predator hybrid known as the Predalien escapes and makes its way to a nearby small town. A skilled veteran cleaner Predator is dispatched to kill the Predalien, and the townspeople try to escape the ensuing carnage. And, yeah. Once again, you can see everything that's wrong with this movie. I mean, a good idea to bring the fight between the alien and predator to the Earth. Unfortunately, there's nothing else about this movie that makes it worth it. I mean, but hey, at least we get Dime Store Ellen Ripley, played by that actress from 24, and not named Alicia Cuthbert or Kim Raver or Marilyn Reichkub or Sherry Jones. I don't even remember how to say her name. Rico Islesworth, who was she on 24? Michelle Dessler. I haven't seen 24 in years, so I can't really tell you. But we also have Stephen Pascal He's been some stuff. I mean, he was in Rescue Me. And you got John Ortiz, that guy from the Fast and Furious movies, so there's that. If those are your biggest names in the movie, then you have a bad way to go here with this film. And yeah, it also doesn't help that the film is just all around bad. The lighting in here is absolutely terrible, or the lack of lighting, I should say. This is a bleak, dark movie, and not because of the material, the subject matter, or its R rating. No, you can't see shit in this movie. You can't see anything at all. Like, this thing, I don't know what they were thinking when they made this film. But then again, I wouldn't trust the directors, the directing duo of the Brothers Strauss, the guys who followed this wonderful masterpiece of a movie up with their next film, which was, I believe it was, they were the guys that also did Skyline, too. Remember that great film? I know I don't. I mean, it's like, these guys started off as visual effects guys, and yeah, that's where they should have stayed at here. But on top of that, everybody in this movie is so stupid. Everybody in this movie is so pointless. They're your stock characters. There's nothing of worthiness going on in this movie. At least in a movie like Alien vs. Predator, the original. Once they killed off the main character, all the other characters in the movie, and it was just Sanan Lathan and the Predator teaming up to take on the alien, and it suddenly became like a silent movie in a little bit of a way. That was a much better movie than anything in this film here. I hate Paul W.S. Anderson, but I at least got to give him credit for doing that in that movie to make that film somewhat memorable. This, on the other hand, no, it's just a bad movie. It's the worst thing to come out of Alien and Predator, and that's saying a lot, because there's been some pretty bad Alien movies, and there's only been one bad Predator movie, and coincidentally it was the one by Shane Black, which is hard to believe, but no, this is definitely up there with the worst of the worst, if not the worst thing to come out of both of these franchises. This is that terrible film. It was a bad idea to release this on Christmas Day, because, yeah, nobody is going to go spend their holiday season watching this pile of garbage. Nobody. And I mean, it wasn't a big hit overall, but then again, it didn't cost a whole lot of money to make, so they obviously made their money back. But it was definitely a less successful film than the first film was. And yeah, this was just a terrible film. So yeah, avoid this one like the plague. See the other far better Alien and Predator movies. And yeah, Robert Rodriguez will have one with Predators coming up in about 2-3 years time, and then Ridley Scott will try to bring the magic back with Prometheus, and he sort of makes it work, and then it doesn't really end up well at all. But yeah, this was a bad movie, plain and simple. Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that is The Water Horse, Legend of the Deep.
This Christmas,
He came from the mid. He's very friendly.
from Lorber Media, who brought you the Chronicles of Narnia,
How'd you grow so fast?
comes the most wondrous film of its kind since E.T. Did you see it? Incredible fantasy adventure. A perfect holiday film. The Water Horse, rated PG, in theaters Christmas Day.
So in the story of The Water Horse, you have a young boy who discovers a mysterious egg and cares for what hatches out to be a water horse, loosely based on the Celtic water horse, which later becomes the fabled Loch Ness Monster. And this is actually based off of a story by Dick King-Smith, who also was the guy behind Babe. And all times this could definitely be on the same level of Babe in terms of an entertaining movie overall. It's not a bad movie per se, just not a really great one to me. I think really the biggest problem with it overall is that it's just another E.T. clone. I mean, we've seen E.T. perfect this formula to a T, and we've seen so many movies that have tried to copy that formula. Some have worked, some have not so much worked. This is definitely in the category of ones that works well enough to say that for what it is, a family film overall, it's a good movie overall, but again, nothing really that significant about it, nothing too amazing about it. The visuals are okay to look at. I mean, the Water Horse himself looks pretty cool, and the Loch Ness Monster himself looks pretty cool overall. The cast overall, not too bad. Emily Watson, David Morrissey, Ben Chaplin, Alex Attell, Brian Cox. This is directed by Jay Russell, who did Ladder 49, which is a movie I really liked. And yeah, for what this movie is, it's passable. It's nothing too amazing, nothing too spectacular, but if you are looking for a kid's film if you like E.T. overall and you want to find a movie that's similar to this that works, this works pretty well for what it is. Like I said, The Water Horse Legend of the Deep, nothing too amazing about it, but a good fun time overall. Not bad for, it's mostly kids will enjoy the heck out of it. Adults will enjoy just enough overall, so. Not much more to say about that one, so let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that is Denzel Washington's The Great Debaters.
You to try out for the debate team.
He was more than a teacher.
I am here to help you keep your righteous mind.
They were more than just a team.
I've never seen this side of you before.
I'm happy when I'm on your
And together, they would do more than they ever dreamed.
Wish to extend an invitation to a debate at Harvard University.
This Christmas, when we believe in each other, anything is possible.
My message to you is to never quit.
The Great Debaters, rated PG-13.
This is, of course, Denzel Washington's directorial follow-up to Antoine Fisher, which was a good movie overall, and this one's pretty good too. It follows the trials and tribulations of the Wiley College during the debate team in 1935 Texas, and it has Washington among the cast, along with Forrest Whitaker, Denzel Whitaker, Kimberly Elise, Nate Parker, Gina Rivera, Jermaine Williams, and Journey Smollett. And it's got John Hurt also in the cast as well. Again, kind of like with Water Horse Legend of the Deep, it's a movie we've seen done over and over again. It's nothing too amazing, nothing too spectacular, but for what it is, it works fine for what it is. It's a film that I think elevates itself above a lot of these other movies that are very similar to it. And it's one of those ones that, yeah, we've seen it done to death before so many times, but you have so many stacked people involved in the making of the film, not just Denzel Washington and Forrest Whitaker. Oprah Winfrey's one of the producers. This is a very interesting story to tell. I think it elevates it enough to say that it is a film you should definitely check out. If you like some of Washington's other directorial efforts, like Antoine Fisher, and especially Fences, which I think is his best directorial effort overall, this works very well, and it's Denzel Washington. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's our greatest living actor, and even a guy like him can elevate a film like this that would have been so easily so mediocre and melodramatic. He elevates it to another level, and for that, it works enough on its own to say that it's one you should definitely check out. So yeah, I recommend The Great Debaters. Kind of like with The Water Horse, nothing too amazing, nothing too spectacular, but it's good enough for a one-time watch. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that's Rob Reiner's latest film starring Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman. It's The Bucket List.
Bucket list, a list of all things to do before we kick the bucket. We can do this. The bucket list. Proud of you. Nobody cares what you think. Rated PG-13. Now playing in select cities everywhere January 11th.
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory what the movie is about. You have Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman as two terminally ill men on a road trip with a wish list of things that they want to do before they kick the bucket, hence why it's called The Bucket List. And this was actually based off of an idea from the writer of this, Justin Zachman, who coined the expression bucket list after he wrote his own list of things to do before I kick the bucket and shortened it to Justin's Bucket List. And the first item on the list was apparently get this made by a major studio, and lo and behold, this is exactly what happens. So Warner Brothers picks it up, and you get a pretty enjoyable film overall. A little generic, yes, but you've got two of our greatest actors, Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, working off each other. You're going to get a good movie here regardless. It's a really enjoyable film. Very formulaic, very predictable, but it's Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman doing what they do best here, and who else hasn't had an idea of what they want to do before they die? I mean, I think we all have that idea out there, but until we know for certain that we're going to die eventually, like, I think nobody is really putting it down on paper yet, but I know I certainly haven't, but yeah, the film overall is pretty good. Like I said, it's very generic at times, it is very formulaic when it needs to be, is what it is, and kind of manipulative at times, but for what they're trying to accomplish here, I think it did its job pretty well here. It's a really good movie with two great actors doing what they do best. A pretty good soundtrack with a really good John Mayer song, "Say What You Need to Say," which is absolutely incredible. I can't believe I forgot this actually came from that movie. And apparently a lot of people were really buying it. I said sucker, but they really into this movie because when it was released wide, it actually became a massive hit. It was the #1 hit at the box office that weekend it came out in wide release and went on to gross $175 million worldwide. So there was an audience for this movie, and it works very well. It's one of Rob Reiner's great late films overall. Really good film overall. I've said great, but not. It's a good film. I should rephrase that. It's a good film from Rob Reiner, who had not made a good movie in a while, and I don't know. I thought this one was really good. I enjoyed it. Definitely check it out. The Bucket List. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one we have here, and that is the Guillermo del Toro presentation, The Orphanage.
begins to vanish. Now, she's alone in the darkness. 4, 3, 2, 1. You can open your eyes.
I'd actually never seen that trailer before. Holy shit, that was pretty good. But this is The Orphanage. This is the directorial debut for Juan Antonio Bayona, who would later go on to direct A Monster Calls, and most notably Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. In this movie, you have a woman named Laura who returns to her childhood home, an orphanage, and she plans to turn the house into a home for disabled children. However, after an argument with Simon, her adopted son, he goes missing, and that leads to the chaos that ensues from here. And this is, of course, Guillermo del Toro, who last year gave us Pan's Labyrinth, and this definitely feels like an old-school Guillermo del Toro film that really is a pretty intense and terrifying film when it needs to be. The tension and moments in this film are very good. This is a film that does not rely on cheap jump scares, like that, unlike that trailer that we just saw, because, yeah, as good as that trailer is, it's pretty obvious they're going for the cheap jump scares in that one, but in the movie itself, though, it's anything but those cheap jump scares. These are legitimately good, terrifying, chilling moments that happen in this movie. And yeah, most of it is done with subtitles when those moments happen. And yeah, it adds to the level of tension in those scenes in general. It's a very intense film, and it works really well. It's definitely one of the most underrated horror movies of recent memory, and one that really shows what Juan Antonio Bayona is capable of doing here. That's why I really loved what he did with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at the end of the movie. Just, he takes a lot of what he did with The Orphanage and puts it into the final 20 minutes of that movie, where it's just the dinosaur going after the kid. And yeah, it's definitely one of the best moments in the Jurassic Park series in general, from a film that is not that good, is not as good as it is. It's not a bad movie like everybody else says it is, but yeah, I can't argue that it's a good movie overall. I had fun with those. I had fun with most of the Jurassic World movies, and I really would have liked to see what he had done if he had got a chance to do the one after that, Jurassic World 3. But that's a whole other thing altogether. We'll delve more into that when we get to Fallen Kingdom in 2018. But as far as this film goes, it's a really good movie. It's benefited by a great leading performance by Billy Ruda. You have Fernando Cayo as her husband, and Roger Princep doing a great job as Simon, and Geraldine Chaplin, of course, very good actress overall. It's a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out. If you like Pan's Labyrinth and you like old school Guillermo del Toro movies, you're going to enjoy this one a lot. I highly recommend The Orphanage. So let's go ahead and get to the most notable movie of this weekend, because it was nominated for the most is for the Oscars, and of course won an Oscar for Daniel Day-Lewis, and that's Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film, There Will Be Blood.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for visiting with us this evening. Well, I've traveled across half our state to be here and to see about this land. Well, you have a great chance here. Bear in mind, you can lose it all if you're not careful. I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that if we do find oil here, this community of yours will not only survive, it will flourish.
The Holy Spirit has grown weary of drunkenness and lying in the world. Have you been doing any of these things?
So There Will Be Blood stars Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview, who's a silver miner turned oilman, and he embarks on a ruthless quest for wealth during the Californian oil boom between the late 19th and early 20th century. And he comes across all these different obstacles, including a priest played by Paul Dano, and also has a cast that includes Kevin J. O'Connor, Kieran Hines, and some argue that this should have been the movie that should have won Best Picture that year. And while I can't say for certain that that's the case, I mean, I do like this movie a lot. But if I had to choose between this and No Country for Old Men, or even some of the other nominees, my first choice would have easily been Juno, but No Country for Old Men probably would have been my second choice overall. But no matter how you look at it, this is still a really good movie. This is, of course, Paul Thomas Anderson, who did Boogie Nights and Magnolia. I mean, a lot of great films overall as a director. And this is a film where Daniel Day-Lewis shows why he's such a good actor, because he really does nail this performance down to a T. I mean, some of the most memorable lines of recent memories. I mean, you know, I drank your milkshake. You know, let me do it the way he says in the movie. I drink your milkshake. Like, I can't do it as good as he does, but the way he says those words, like, you just know that you just can't argue that this is a damn good performance overall. And yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis is a really damn good actor, and he's proven why he's won 3 Academy Awards for Best Actor over the years. This is definitely one of those films that easily is right up there with one of the best actor performances in the movie. And Paul Dano does a very good job too. He doesn't get enough attention in this particular film, but you know, this is him coming right off of Little Miss Sunshine too, but he shows in this movie the true potential that he has as an actor going forward, because he would do this, and then he would be in 12 Years a Slave, and of course recently following up with the Batman. I mean, the guy has proven how good of an actor he can really be over time. He's not playing the same character he was in Little Miss Sunshine, and he shows it here. He has to really compete with Day-Lewis in this film, and it works absolutely well to a T. There Will Be Blood is a damn good movie. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year. One you have to check out. I mean, this is definitely one of the highlights of the year. It's more than worth it. There Will Be Blood, fantastic film. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this up with the last one we have here, and that's the animated feature, Persepolis.
See the movie Rolling Stone calls a mind blower. It's marvelous. 4 stars. It gets a grade A from Entertainment Weekly. It's wonderful, defiant, funny, and tender, not to be missed. Like nothing you've ever seen, Marjan is a sass queen to rival Juno. And now, it's an Academy Award nominee for Best Animated Feature. Wow. The New York Times says, take the kids and don't feel guilty. Persepolis, rated PG-13. Now playing select cities, coming soon to a theater near you.
Another great animated feature from Sony Pictures Classic. I mean, they were the company that brought the Triplets of Belleville to America. And this is another one of those movies that is just so damn good. It's a great coming-of-age story. We have a young girl coming of age against the backdrop of the Iranian Revolution. And this is based off of a graphic novel of the same name. And the animation is just pitch perfect. I mean, this is a really impressively put-together film that might have been overshadowed by Juno. I mean, even in the trailer, that commercial that I showed you, they're literally quoting Juno, and this is Sass Queens, which I didn't even think that was a term they used back then for it's in a major review, but I guess they did. But overall, yeah, this is a really impressively made film. It's an animated film that really does come out of nowhere. I had never read the graphic novel that this is based off of, but you can appreciate the animation style in here, and you can appreciate the relativity that anybody could have to the storyline here. It's a really impressively made film, and it was a movie that got several nominations at the Oscars for foreign language film and best animated feature. I really think it should have gotten at least one of them because it is that impressive of a film overall, and it's largely been forgotten too. And it's a shame because it's a really damn good film. It's a film that came from a really strong year of animation that, you know, it unfortunately had to be in the same category of stuff like Ratatouille and Surf's Up, and there was another one. I think there was another one too, or was it only 3 nominations around that time? No, this was back when they only had 3 nominations for Best Animated Feature. I mean, it beat out the Simpsons movie, which I thought would have been a lot, but it just goes to show you that they don't want they sometimes just don't want to nominate animated movies based off of TV shows. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem didn't get a nomination, nor did Transformers 1. Like, the only rare exception to that has been Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which of course obviously they had to get a nomination because of how good that movie was. But yeah, bottom line, Persepolis is a really good movie. It's a largely overlooked film that really came and kind of went, because nobody really ever talked about it since it came out, but it's a really damn good movie, and one that definitely deserves to be seen, and one that you should definitely check out. So I highly recommend checking out Persepolis. It's definitely worth a watch.